taking care of oh, wait a second, the pop-up came up here. Um, take care of animation visual effects, typical disciplines in our department, as we have several programs. One of them obviously has a game design concentration. I'm teaching mostly project-based courses, that is the capstone sequence, the thesis courses, as well as independent studies where students have the opportunity to work out a focus. And I'm here to back up my colleagues regarding applications that go beyond the game industry, but using game technology in several kinds of industries.
Thank you. Moving on to Professor Kevin.
Good morning, or maybe good evening. How are you, everybody? My name is Kevin Park, Professor Kevin Park. I'm assistant professor at the New York Tech. I am the chair of the Digital Arts and Design Department. I work alongside with Professor Michael and Joy. We offer multiple programs from our department, including game design concentration on the digital art program, BFA, and then we also have a graphic design BFA, and we also have 3 different type of master programs. So I'd love to talk to you guys more about that.
Thank you.
We have multiple research labs, so we'll go on explain about those things after this.
Thank you. So before we begin with our interesting guest speakers, I would like to just go over a little bit of housekeeping. We designed this discussion panel, this virtual event, to answer the question of most international students of what does this program look like? We hear a lot from universities in general, even from advisors. However, sometimes it's different when you hear directly from the people that actually teaches the program or actually are involved with students like yourself in these programs. And so we would like you all to sit back, relax, and try and imagine yourself in these creative programs and prepare your questions. Any questions that you have, I would really encourage you to write them on the side, just on a piece of paper. And whenever there's time to start asking questions, kindly, we will let you know, and you can start typing them in the chat box. Also, anything related to admission process, scholarships, application process. Myself in Saudi Arabia, I will be helping the students. I also have my colleague Rasha will be helping students from Egypt, and also Burqa, of course, we would need her assistance to help. And that would be after the discussion panel via email, where you can contact us and we look at cases, individually to be able to assist you better. And so these questions, I also encourage you to write them on the side and then email it directly to us. We'll be sharing our emails in the chat as well at the end in a slide. Okay, so of course, I just wanted to remind that this virtual session is going to be recorded as well. And we're going to start with a little poll. Okay, there's going to be 2 things. There's going to be a poll first, just so we could understand the type of audience that are here with us, as well as a little bit of activity to see your background knowledge about creative programs. So we're going to start with a poll, and I would encourage everyone here to participate, please. That would really help us. Okay. Rasha, I just wanted to double check. Can you see the poll on your screen? Perfect. Just going to give it a few more minutes. We've got a few more participants. We're waiting for them to answer. Okay. So now I'm going to share the results. So wow, well, Egypt win. But I really like the numbers. We have a lot of undergraduate high school students. So yay, thank you so much for joining us on a Thursday night. I can see also college level students and some others who maybe are already in their professional fields. So that's great. Thank you so much for answering the poll. Okay, so for now, I'm going to ask you this general question. I would like you to bring out your cell phones and scan the QR code super quickly. It's not going to take that much time. Okay. So the question is how, and this is, there's no right or wrong. We encourage everyone to answer. How can the study of game development intersect or overlap with other majors such as music, psychology, or graphic designing, or arts? So I would like you to scan the following QR code, and then you're going to press on a plus button at the bottom, a green plus button at the bottom. And it says share something beautiful. So just type your answer. You don't have to type your name, just type your answer, and then we can start seeing it on the screen. So the question is, again, how do you think the game development program or the game development in general can intersect or overlap or even connect with other disciplines or other majors such as psychology, music, or graphic design? So again, there's like a plus icon, green, at the bottom. You just press that and add your answer. Okay, let's see. Hope to start seeing students typing in. Or I keep saying students, my apologies. I was a teacher before, I keep saying students. Our audience typing. So what do you think, Rasha? Do you think it's connected?
Yes, sure. Of course, and we would like to learn more, and that's why we are here today. Yes, and I guess we need to know more even about how these fields are connected. Yes.
So I think we can, here we go. Game development involves programming, art, music, because it's really a type of media like film with an interactive twist. I like the interactive twist part.
Yes.
I guess
we have other. Yes.
I guess by making the game change the mindset of people who play it. So I agree. Oh, I like that.
Yes.
The mindset of people. From my point of view, I think it syncs with psychology or other majors in general, is that sometimes you need specific designs and themes of games to make a special genre and target specific audience. Very good. We're talking about marketing now. So yes, it is also integrated with other disciplines. Game development incorporate music, composition, player behavior analysis. Very good. Visual assets to enhance gameplay experiences. Our guest speakers, please feel free to share what you think of our audience feedback.
These are fantastic.
Yeah, it
I
is.
cannot believe the high school student think this way.
I like
what comes out is that they already know that no single person designs a video game, but involves many disciplines, and that remark that there's a lot of in common with film is also what I want to back up, that video games often have a narrative. There is video games that remind us more of regular games, but then often, obviously, these first-person shooters, big adventure games that almost try to be cinematic. And there's the effect currently happening that actually the film industry is using game technology and real-time technology to create visual effects, narratives, background images, similar like video game production works, but obviously a different area of application.
that is so
There's a
true.
lot of overlapping disciplines in all these industries.
Yes, I'd also like to say that, and it just reminds me, being a previous teacher, when I always get the question of why are we writing too much? Or why are we focusing on creative writing? Well, because without creative writing and without understanding story, plot, problem, resolution, you won't be able to even work out a game or understand game levels, or even designing something. Anything related to art and design also includes a story. So, okay, I thank you so much all for sharing. All right, so I'm gonna start with my first question. Okay, so the first question is really it goes under this big umbrella of what is it about? So the evolution of video games from simple arcade style games like Sonic on Sega, my old days, to complex programs like those found on Apple Arcade is a fascinating journey that shows advancements of technology, storytelling, just like we explained, and game design. And now we also have other programs and disciplines designed for our next generation, if not really our current generation, who are reevaluating their career choices, and I've seen a lot of them. And they enroll in such programs. And so we would like you kindly to explain to us that big umbrella, and I know it looks like a bit complex from a person, let's say, who's not a person who is really into like game design. I am a little bit of an art. I understand art and writing, but also I understand that it all connects. So I'd like you to explain that to us.
So I first of all, we have a game design faculty. He's actually attending. If you guys are familiar with the game industry, there's one of the largest game conferences happening right at this moment in San Francisco. It's called GDC 2024, alongside of NVIDIA just had their own conference in San Francisco too. So the gaming industry is changing very, very radically, and we have one of faculty attending the conference and come back to us hopefully next weekend. Tell us more about what the future of the game design will be. Going back to your question regarding this conventional game to this multi-facet game change, we are in the phase of evolution because of the computing power is radically changing. Have you guys probably seen on TV and YouTube and whatnot, this power of the GPU alongside of AI and machine learning is just accelerating all this speed, in terms of a production level. Because previously, like what Professor Michael said, you need many people involved in making game. As an example, a single console game minimum requirement for development will be somewhere between 7 to 12 years. Sometimes it takes 15 years and include tens of thousands of people in all over the world. And it takes a long time to build this. But in other hand, there's what we call startup-based game, which could be, you just need 2 or 3 people. If you are familiar with the game industry, there's a game engine called Unity or Unreal Engine, where they have a policy where if you make less than $1 million, everything is free for you to join. So the industry itself is encouraging people like us and yourself to become a developer, designers, and we'll go into the concept of a technical artist later on, but they want to see more of us joining this industry and build more games, and then changes this direction of where we are going. And let alone this advancement of this technology is really pushing what we can do from where you're sitting here at this moment. You don't need a larger computing power to do this anymore. If you're building a mobile game, you could easily do that utilizing template-based solutions, and you can buy those templates from the SS store. So the industry is much more mature compared to like what you just mentioned earlier today. And at the same time, resources are readily available too. So I see this next generation, especially from Middle East. I think the Prince also in Saudi Arabia, there was a huge conference last year based on esports, and then there's going to be tremendous investment into this gaming, because gaming is no longer about video games or mobile games. I think Michael mentioned earlier before, the logic of gaming is going into multiple layers of fabrication of our society, including application to other interaction component of what we do daily basis. So if you go into for example, when you want to travel, you go to the airport, when you start touching the kiosk to interact with the machine, the base of logic is what we call the game logic underneath there. So learning about game, understand the game will really change what in the future, what Intel in the before foreseeing. And also, I also want to highlight the advancement of the graphical technology and also user interface technology, because since the machine is faster, and hence we no longer have to use things in the pixel base anymore. Everything, I mean, you see from the machine learning generated solutions where you can generate a lot of things without hesitation and without delays anymore. We used to wait for the rendering process. That's no longer an option anymore. So if we have right resources, we can really accelerate this in terms of a development end of it. And also, that really goes back to the current state of the gaming industry, where this AI generated game will be something we foresee next 3 to 5 years. We really want to focusing on in our in the New York Tech. Yeah. Michael, you wanna get into?
Yeah, you mentioned already the gameplay, and we heard that before, that when you develop a product like a game, which especially young people attracts in the first place, it goes from any form of traditional game, board game, or in a digital realm, of course, from the well-known side scrollers or role-play games to the fully fleshed out AAA adventure games that have a cinematic look to it. But later in your career, you will also learn that gaming technology and the concepts of developing games is used in many areas of serious applications. That means playing games or gameplay is used almost like a language nowadays. In education, for a long time already, educators try to communicate learning content through a game-like interface in medical information systems, airport traffic information systems, in all areas where you interact with a complex set of information and a user interface. The strategy of playing a game most likely is the underlying concept. And in all these applications, you need designers designing the visual content, the assets, whether 3D or 2D, the whole graphic design concept, as well as developers that develop the technology, make the game playable. And in the front end, of course, you have writers developing the gameplay strategy and the story behind it, the storytelling. So there's a variety of disciplines you find in many professional areas that apply to the game industry as well.
Okay, so I can see how everything is integrated into one. So I guess my next question would be, and that's especially for high school students. So they hear a lot about the word syllabus, and they do understand that when you go to university or college level, you have this roadmap, which is called a syllabus, that helps you understand the course and reach, the journey, start A all the way to Z until you're complete with, let's say, a project or an exam or an assessment. So I would like to know, for example, for your program, what does this typical syllabus look like?
Does it make sense to share the screen, Kevin?
Can we share the screen?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You're already proposed, yes.
There we go. So we'll skip this part. Baku already mentioned that.
You want to go to the semester map?
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Okay, so for gaming aspects of our syllabus, our program game design is under digital art major. And in the digital art major, we have this umbrella model of learning about animations to storytelling components to becoming special effect focus and whatnot. But we have a concentration on game design, where we offer these 7 courses. We start with a game 1, which is introduction for game. And the second part is learning about theory and history, where you learn about interaction design, where it began and where is it actually moving towards to. The second part is what we call intermediate design, game design, where you learn more about Unity, Unreal Engine game design. So in game 1, you learn about board game, because before you jump into technology, you really have to understand the logic of game. You need a player, you need an intention, you need a study of intent to motivation model and things like that. So once you develop those things in the board game and other type of 2D or other physical games, after that, you're moving on to technology-focused gaming, where you learn about Unity, like I mentioned, or Unreal Engine, or other type of gaming, including learning about Maya, 3D modeling, spatial design, and etc. After that, we're moving on to the game design for coding and game development. That's where you spend more time on either C# or C++ or Python, other type of required language to do more in-depth study of what we call behavior-related gaming aspects of coding. Now, you do learn about coding part of it from the game 1 all the way to the end. That's inevitable process. But in our aspects of curriculum, in game 1, 2, 3, we want to focusing on not just development component, but what we foreseeing is we want to create this curriculum that focusing on what we call technical artists. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this concept. So in gaming industry, like Professor Michael just mentioned, you need multiple people to involve on this development. Some could be purely on development end of it. Some could be on the marketing part of it. Some could be on graphic design. Some could be on architect who needs to design the space and etc. But in the gaming industry, there's a section in the sector called technical artists, where these people are technically trained to do character development, level design, environment development, or asset design and things like that. So we are more focusing on visual aspects of the game, but in order to do any of this work, you have to understand fundamentals of a development. So we offer those classes to understand how to build a game from the day one. But our intention is not to build a developer out of this, because development requires a lot more development focused training. So we really want to develop the course where you're not just learning how set up the game or build a game, but at the same time understand how to develop a character, environment, things like that. So from the level game design program, you learn about level 1 to 3, how to advance and then design certain way. And then game 3, you become technical artist studio, where you really focusing on your technical specialty on this class. And then the last class will be what we call emerging technology for games and interactive applications, where you learn about, I think we forgot to mention earlier discussion, game industries, like our Professor Michael said, is no longer building something for console-based game or mobile. It becomes a multi-asset game, multi-facet game, where the story become much more complex, narrative become much more complex. So you're not making game for Xbox anymore. You're making game for something that translate from your mobile to Xbox or PS system, all the way to virtual reality or other form of a display. And we see this character translate from one platform to the other without an issue. And once this computing power gets faster and faster, if you have watched the movie Ready Player One, they don't talk about game becoming just one place. Game become what we call the metaverse. That is it's all over the place, and it's a matter of how we access that metaverse. So this this blurry line is becoming a reality for us as we're speaking, and we foreseeing this approach of building a technical artist focus program is really needed. More we talk about this in the our landscape of game design schools, we noticed almost 99% of schools out there really focusing on game development. Somebody who know how to make games, but we want to focusing on technical artists. So who understand the characters, who can make asset, who can make the landscape, who can make the environment, level design. In the gaming industry, regardless of situation, regardless AI or machine learning will help us, we need that specialty in the future, no matter what happens.
So I just have a quick question. So I
Mhm.
can see the combination between the theoretical knowledge and the history of it, and also the hands-on work. Maybe a student would ask themselves and say, okay, so maybe I'm really good at the development and the coding, but I'm not really good at the creative part and the art part and the character design and the storytelling. What is your answer to those students?
Kevin, would you like to
Yes.
go back up to the, either me or Michael can cover that part
Yeah,
if you
it's
want.
you, Michael.
Now, I wanted to kind of in between your question and what Kevin just said. These are the courses in the concentration. There's obviously courses like flat out example 3D modeling courses, Maya animation courses that all students take, as well as the capstone courses is the three course thesis sequence at the end of the studies, as well as possible independent studies. So our courses are designed the way that there is defined learning content, but also space for students to follow their individual aspirations. That means if someone is interested in a very specific subject matter, they can dedicate the hands-on project work and of a course or an entire course sequence to that. Example, when someone takes Maya modeling courses that are not specifically in the game sequence, but obviously are part of the education in game design, some students might model characters for feature film animation, for product design, means physical, let's say a car,
Yeah.
spaceships, typical stuff. Or they might get into specializing in designing game environments and game assets, props. They're using the same tools, the same methods and same techniques, learning the same basics of that. But there is certain specifics to each industry you are working for, how the model is designed, how the model is animated, how the model is textured. So there's a lot of things in common, but also specifics. And that is what a student can work out in that sense. What was your question? What was the end of the question again, the second part?
I also wanted to highlight that as this industry become much more complex, this requires specialty skill is extremely needed moving forward, because you can't just wanted to move into the industry by applying and then realize if they use different tool, there's no longer can align that. We've been discussing this a lot. If an industry require Maya, learning Blender doesn't help, because from that point, we have to relearn that again.
Yeah.
So it's really critical that from the university or expertise on our end, constantly watching out for what the industry's requirements are look like, so we can align that to our curriculum, so we can focus on that part, right?
Yeah.
And our laboratories are equipped to handle those things as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and back to your question now, if a student realizes down the road, oh, I'm really an environment designer, or I am more interested in the developing side of things. So in the beginning of the digital industries, let's say more like 15, almost 20 years ago, larger productions were looking for really specialized disciplines, specialized people who do one thing very high degree, but nothing else. So the industry changed in a sense because it's much more project based and job based. So there's a lot of fluctuation in terms of on the freelance market, that prospective junior talent develop a broader understanding and a broader range of skills, almost generally trained, and then develop a specialization, not only in one thing, but in 2, 3 related aspects of production. That means, especially on the undergraduate level, it is very important to go through the whole process and get your feet wet with all the components that are part of the game development process, or game design process in a larger sense, not only development, but the larger game design process. And then, whether it is in further studies on the graduate level or even on the undergraduate already, but specifically in their first few jobs, figure out their specialization. But for that specialization, they still have to have that understanding of how all the other gears in the machine work together.
Yes, I like the way that you gave that example. It helps the audience, and it helps students to understand that, like you said, they should get their feet wet in all areas before deciding maybe what is something that they're really interested in.
Right. And
So,
one
yes.
thing I also want to highlight is there's something called what we call there's an unknown fear of technology. I mean, even these young people, because you're not familiar with what they are yet, so somehow they have this sort of underlying fear for this thing. So from our point of view, as you can see from here, from our freshman course drawing class, shape and color and computer graphics 1, immediately we introduce emerging technology as one of a tool set. So for example, when you're learning drawing, we don't see the difference between the paper and charcoal to iPad to Procreate to virtual reality where you draw things. Some point you should see this as just a tool, and to get to your transfer your concept to the some form of a display. So we want to see this blurry line between this technology into the merging into access issues, instead of I need to learn one more, because like what Michael said, creating asset in traditional Maya is one way to do it, but there's a whole other way to do it in spatial design too. So we want to introduce this lot of different technology from day one. So when you get to our program, even in drawing 1 and 2, you will start learning about between analog to digital to virtual at the simultaneous way. We used to teach one thing at a time, and we saw there's a backlash happening because some people make a choice. Oh, I like traditional better than this, so-called digital solutions anymore. But instead, when we merge all this into one, they start seeing this as just one application at the end. It just goes back to storytelling component. If we're focusing on the storytelling, because the story is getting complex, then you will not worry about technology as the hurdle anymore. Yeah.
Yes, I understand. Okay, so you spoke a little bit about hands-on tasks and experiences and projects. Do students get to work on, let's say, would the program help them focus on a certain project and start building on it as they move on from, class 1 to class 2 to class 3, or is it different projects for different classes, or both?
They are independently different projects, but they're all our curriculums are all connected to each other. So these are a cohort system where you are not just taking one thing at independently. They're all related to each other. Projects are independent. So at the end, we want our students to create more comprehensive portfolio at the end, so they can be more competitive in the job market. But like Michael said, we have other courses. Maybe Michael can cover more because he teaches independent study and thesis class where you have a longer term project where you can dedicate full year plus to develop certain things. So for example, if this is a fully baked in game, you will need time to do this, and you will need the resources. Then a professor like Michael and Joy and myself will come in and then help them to mitigate those issues. Yeah. Michael, do you want to talk more about independent study and the
Yeah,
thesis?
independent study is actually a one semester project course, but it can be taken several times. It's not like any other course where you get credit for one specific course topic and then move on. It can be taken several times as an elective. The idea of that course is self-sufficient hands-on learning. So that means it is a course that a student is responsible for. The faculty serves as their mentor, and they have the opportunity to work on a subject or a specific course project example that they think is not covered in any of the other courses. There is no elective that really does that. I want to learn this software and combine it with that game idea, creating an asset that I did not have a chance to build in another course. So they can take charge of what they do in that course, assisted by the faculty. But again, it's featuring self-sufficient learning, and insofar it's a creative research project. And it turned out to be very successful. We reintroduced that a couple of years ago, and more students tend to take that. That image here is a different project, which is
I'm sorry, I'm just showing some examples of work that
okay,
we do.
just
So you have some
independent.
ideas about, yeah.
So, for example, here that it was a special project, not an independent study, but a special project where students worked together with a school for disabled children in our area, and also together with the airline JetBlue that sponsored the whole project. And that had a focus on students creating a film about the disabled students, but also in collaboration with the disabled students, because the High School for Disabled Students here, they also have film and media courses. So they were very interested in the whole technology and all of that. So what JetBlue did, they took the kids on a field trip to Boston, which is a 45-minute flight from New York City, spending a day there in an aquarium and around that area, and then flying them back. It was all about the logistics of getting the disabled students with all their equipment and caretakers on the airplane, off the airplane, and from one point to the other point. And while doing that, we made a short documentary promotional film about that. But what these hands-on project courses, as well as the independent studies, show is a significantly increased level of student engagement. Because suddenly students are in charge, they do everything about the project, they get supported with technology, with time, with expertise from several members, faculty members, and they really bloom up in that project. And here Kevin is specifically good because since running his research lab, the Hive, and I think there's a couple of images coming up as well, he very much engages student research that can be directly related to the courses they work on, but also happening outside class, where they explore virtual reality, augmented reality technology. His UX UI students do a lot of that research, but also our newly formed video game interest group, or the student club, actually it's a student club, where students work outside class. They have their own room, they have the research labs available, and basically work on game ideas with all kind of technology that is available in those labs. Again, a very student-driven approach.
Want to piggyback on what Michael was saying is, I'm not sure how it operates in Saudi Arabia or Egypt, but in New York Tech, what we try to do is what we call the project-based learning. So instead of learn from lecture or discussion, nothing wrong with those things, but what I'm trying to explain is, like what Michael just said, when you run programs, so for example, Viscati project here, students are not just learning about how to film or how to do motion capture and whatnot, but they learn about project management, scheduling, budget, how to call corporation, how to work with these people, et cetera, et cetera. So when Michael mentioned about they get more involved, that means so for example, I forgot where here, like our student run hackathon. So when that happens, they are the one who's calling people, hey, this is date and time, you need to come. They are the one who's ordering the food. They are the one who's, checking the list. So it's not just making the game matters at the end. They learn about what it takes to build a team, what it takes to assemble and then produce a game and then, have a award and all these things. So all this logistic is a part of learning aspects of it, where when we do that in the classroom with just a purely on the lecture and whatnot, it's just another bullet point. Hey, there's a schedule, you have to do this. They're not going to remember that part. So more we do hands-on, more we do involve them into the project research and etc. It really helped them to start seeing, oh, I could do that this way or that way, because there's no one way is correct. Right.
Yes.
So in our industry, like what Michael said, both of us been in the industry for almost 30 years, but we're seeing this change is always happening. And believe it or not, this new AI machine learning, this new generation, this is something in our generation never seen it, your generation never seen it. So that means we can't just create this cookie cutter way of teaching
True.
people. This has to be open-ended, discussion based. And of course we make a mistake. That's nothing wrong with it. And like in our program, we always say from day one, you came to school to make a mistake. So more we make a mistake is better at the end, because eventually you're going to be successful. When we do that, more and more you make mistake constantly, you eventually you're gonna get better and better. Then by the time you become a senior or junior, you will get better at the end.
That
So
is
instead of us relying on testing or numbers, we really want you guys to have a better experience at the end. For example, working with the industry right now, as an example of this, in this case, we work with JetBlue. We have another case where we work with Apple and Microsoft to create another program for one of our students in drawing class. She needs extra help. In that case, our student get involved, and they are the one who's learning about, oh, there's a way to do accessibility learning, because they never seen that before. So it's not just us doing things or corporation getting involved doing things, but our students get involved and do that. So as an example, like in this location, we're actually building animation focus, like an animation club. In that case, we just give them a space and they are the ones building the space to do certain things. And then we're gonna do the mirror and all kinds of things. I'm just showing a few examples here that our student running animation festival, game design festival, they are the one who's, we only do facilitation of, working with extra companies out there. And this is something that, we work with other like behavior scientists or it could be chemistry department and whatnot, then our students help us develop games, logical conversation design and all those things.
And so, Kevin, before we move on to Q&A, I just love these pictures because it really shows how it's outside the classroom as well. And I can see all your facilities and the different labs that you have, and also the outside campus learning. I wanted to ask you, so everything we spoke about so far applies to undergrad and grad, or is there a specific?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
It covers both. Yeah.
It covers both. Okay, so I would like to give the floor to our viewers while we're looking at these pictures. If anyone has any questions related to the program or something specific that one of our guest speakers spoke about, this is the time you can type in your questions in the chat, please.
Yes, of course, they are going to prepare their questions. And while we are receiving the questions, I would like to ask about something that maybe most of the students attending today are asking. What are for newcomers to apply for the gaming programs, what are the typical skills or previous experiences that may help the student to succeed in digital art and design? So what is your advice for the students maybe to participate in some activities or gain some skills or experiences during their high school years? So what's your advice?
So I can chime in here as the one who typically reviews portfolios that students will need to submit applying to the undergraduate programs, at least. For those applying to the graduate programs, there's a bit of a separate process that Kevin helps to oversee. But as for undergraduate students, as I said, you need to provide a portfolio to us, but at New York Tech, we're a little more lax on our portfolio requirements. We do like to see that students are creating art or games, whatever it may be, but we're not looking for having a mastery or expertise in those forms of art. We're very heavy on the transition from traditional to digital art and design and the game design and all of that, but we're not expecting students, especially at the high school level, to have the accessibility or knowledge of those tools. In our freshman year, our foundation years, our design studios, we're going to help you learn those introductory tools to help you get into that more advanced content with us. So just seeing that you're creating, that you have a passion, that there are things that inspire you to want to create, that's primarily what I look for in a portfolio. It's good to see that you understand some foundations of drawing or design, or you're doing photography, maybe you're getting your hands wet in the Adobe suite for digital design and creation. Maybe you already have access to Unreal or Unity and you're playing around with some games. That's fantastic. But just to see that you're creating and you're really passionate about creating, that's one of the primary things we want to see, because we want you to bring that passion and that drive into New York Tech, so you can not only succeed very well, but you could also inspire fellow students to bring them up, and you could all create wonderful things together.
So if I may jump into this, so what is critical is, if you already know what to do, there's no point for you to go to school.
Yes.
I hope you understand that part. But we are not talking about you don't have to know anything. That's not my point. My point is, if you're not equipped to draw perfect pen, that's okay. But if you know why you're drawing the pen, that matters more,
Yeah.
right? So what we call this study of intent, the reason I said about making mistake is a critical thing is, when you make a mistake, you should know why you wanted to try, right? Even is it random or not. So in your portfolio, even, in your point of view, it may not be good. It might be good for us. You never know. But in that case, write a story behind it, why you drew this. This day I was, having argument with my brother or sisters, I was looking at this thing, I realized there was a shadow hand, I drew this. So once you start understand how to tell the story on something, that's the beginning of how this game character build. Like, everyone has to have some type of story behind it, right? So think about building your portfolio based on not just what you're good at, but also what you want to do. And then even though you fail, that's completely okay. Just say, maybe I'm not good at this, I may suck at this, but same time, I want to get better at it. Just ask a question, how can I do better? Then we can help you to get better at the end. Yeah. And also, if I may, if you're really interested in game, you don't have to be expert on Unity. Just go to Unity, and there's a section called Unity Learn. There's something called micro game. You can try that too. But if you don't know how to make a game, you can just easily make a board game, right? But as long as we see your enthusiasm to making something, that's the best you can do at this moment. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
what if the student previous experience is more related to coding, to programming languages, more than the artistic part? So what's your advice to
So
such
if
students?
you learn, let's say, Python or whatnot, I would make something with a Python. Like, for example, you could make a Python to do spreadsheet or something, right? But again, engineers are not, people are misunderstanding about engineers not creative. They are extremely creative people. That's why they became an engineer, right? They are the one who made everything to work, right? Without their imagination to make sure, hey, maybe we can send someone in the moon, right? So it's something creative people cannot do. But at the same time, if you know how to do something, it doesn't matter what that is. If you know how to sing, if you know how to draw, if you know how to code, I will do something, but make something intentional, right? And then write a story behind it, why you made it, right?
Mhm.
More we understand why you did it, it's better at the end.
Yes.
The worst thing you can do is you do something, no explanation. We have no idea why you did it.
Yes. Sure. Thank you.
I think we don't have any questions, which mean everything was super clear. I'm happy. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight, for taking the time. I've learned a lot, and I hope our audiences as well. Thank you for Education USA Egypt for cooperating with us on this. And thank you for New York Tech, of course. And this is not going to be our last meeting. Definitely, it was really interesting.
Wait a minute, there's a BASIM. It said, I know some about web development. Is it accepted or must game? So web development or game is just a blurry line. As long as you know how to do something, you can make a game. So for example, if I know how to make a web design, web pages, you could make this pages to relate to each other to create a game. You can make a conditional to make a game. So give it a try. Think about web development as a game, and then you land somewhere as a landing page, and then start typing what the story should be. Hey, welcome to this dungeon of blah blah blah. Choose A and B. Are you gonna take red pill, blue pill? Where are you gonna go? So take us through the journey and then send us link. Let me test that out.
Yeah, and set yourself a problem and show a solution with whatever the skill is you have. If you're a web developer, a programmer, or an artist, you might, within the realm of things that you usually work on, show us how you address and solve a problem. If you want to create a horror, spooky type of video game and you're a photographer, a painter, an illustrator, yeah, do something like that carries the mood and the look of feel. If you're, for example, like Kevin said, a web developer, you might have a problem saying, I want to create a web page that is one large page which I can seamlessly navigate without switching pages, almost like a big land map or a game board. Because yeah, the difference between navigating interactive applications like a web page and a video game is not that different. Yeah, there's even web-based games out there.
Yeah, I remember like back then when the web was coming out, people actually did make a page like that. It was so big, there's no way you can find where the ending was. And we spent like hours thinking like, who made this? And then we actually spent more time finding
I
the
like the
answer.
idea, like have one big map to navigate
Yeah.
like on a private surface.
Actually the movie Ready Player One,
Yeah, it's a great movie.
last test was, you just wander around the room and try to find where you're at. Yeah.
And thank you very much. I can see some questions. They're asking about scholarships and they're asking about applications. So I would like again to remind everyone that they can email if you're from Saudi Arabia. Here are the EdUSA Advisors email, depending on the region. Egypt as well, if you would like to email New York Tech. Okay.
Additionally, I would like to share my email address and the details again. They can even arrange a Zoom meeting with me. I share the link. Whenever they want, they can ask the additional admissions questions.
Perfect.
And thank you for
Perfect.
the department and Education USA counselors. And I would like to wish happy Ramadan, Ramadan Mubarak for the students or attendees who are testing.
1 second. Before we split, every Wednesday, New York time 9 a.m. I'm not sure what time is in the Middle East, but Eastern time 9 a.m. we do info session for graduate program. So if you're interested in, we have a 3 graduate program. One is graphic design and media innovation. The other one is UX UI design and development. And the third one is a digital product design. So if you're interested in those things, just join us on Wednesday, 9 a.m. Let me just put that information in the chat so you can see it.
Also, I do have all their email addresses. I would love to send them a reminder as well, if you can send it to me, Kevin.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the info session, and it would be a good idea for a lot of people to just join if you're interested in. Okay.
And one of you mentioned that earlier in form of a question. I think we have currently run 5 different degree programs on undergraduate and graduate level, and they all live in one space. They all use the same facilities, which also creates a great student community in which we hope and nurture cross-pollination, that students exchange experience among each other, but also what they found out about one technique, one tool, whatever they do in their clubs, as well in their research projects. It's very important that academic programs are not living in isolated silos.
If anybody interested in graduate program, I mean, and so we talked extensively about game design, but anybody interested in UX, UI, or graphic design and media innovation, please contact us, and then we'll set up a separate info session like this, or otherwise every Wednesday morning we do info session. So feel free to join. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and have a lovely day and have a lovely evening, Rachel.
Thank
Happy
you. Thank you for
Ramadan.
having us.
Bye,
Very
guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.